Hello, and thank you for watching my video. This is another in a series that's looking at profession guides for Guild Wars 2 in 2015, and today we're actually going to be looking at the Elementalist. Now, I will preface the start of this video by saying that my Elementalist has been one of my favourite professions in Guild Wars 2 and also in Guild Wars 1. And I think it's one of the classes that's very easy to learn. It's probably one of the most well-balanced professions, versatile professions, and professions that can work in any part of Guild Wars 2. I actually found that the Elementalist in Guild Wars 2, the very first character I created was an Elementalist. You'll probably see me, most of my dungeon runs are on my Elementalist, but the Elementalist is one of the heaviest damage dealing professions in the game. So you can see here I'm actually in PvP, I'm on my staff. The weapons that the Elementalists have are limited because you can't actually change weapon sets per se compared to other professions, because the Elementalist's unique attribute is the ability to switch attunements. And what does that do? It gives you the benefit of having an extra 5 skills not on cooldown that you can cycle through. So in essence you actually have 20 skills for one weapon set. Pretty damn impressive. The other options you have dagger build, or dagger on the main hand or dagger on the offhand. You've got scepter, and you also have focus. So these are the main weapon skills that you have. You can change these out of combat. You can go into dagger build, or you can have your scepter focus build as well. But for the moment, I'm going to talk about the staff build, because it is pretty much the heaviest damage dealing that you can actually do on the Elementalist. If we look at the skills, the thing is, because there's all these skills, I'm not actually going to cycle through most of them. We'll talk about them in the traits in the weapon skill setup. So you've got various skills that are all very, very beneficial. You've got this Drake's Breath, which is one of my favourite animations. If you see the screenshot competition, Drake's Breath and also Cone of Cold, both the little Azuran Elementalist jumps up and spurts out, sort of out of her mouth comes fire or cold or ice, you know. They're very, very cool animations. But we've got Burning Speed, that allows you to zip forwards and create a firewall, pretty impressive. Same with Ring of Fire, you've got a firewall there, allowing, you know, both of these are fire fields, allowing you to create might stacks for your party. Fire Grab, that's just a lot of damage for your dagger, pretty handy. Obviously these are the healing type skills, so they can cause chilled, which is frozen burst, and vulnerability. You've got another chilled there, and also cleansing wave to heal and cure conditions. We have lightning. As I said, I'm going to cycle through these pretty quickly. Shock your foe and inflict weakness. Shocking aura is a good one because it stuns your opponent. You got ride the lightning, very handy to zip around the map. You'll be using that a lot. And updraft, quick, nice little knockback by sort of reversing yourself, like flipping over. Pretty cool animation as well. You've then got the Impale, which is pretty good if you keep up with the bleeds. Keep pressing Impale. You can really get a lot of stacks of bleeds going with this skill. Ring of Earth, again, another load of bleeds that last for a long time. Immobilize is quite a handy one to prevent your opponent from escaping. Very handy in PvP. Earthquake is another knockdown blast finisher, so if you have a fire field, boom, you get a might and a knockdown. And Churning Earth, very, very powerful skill. However, it's a huge cast time, 3¼ seconds for this skill, and it's very easy to dodge. And it's one of those that probably needs a slight rework, because in PvP it's pretty difficult to land this skill. Scepter, we've got Dragon's Tooth, is quite a nice one. It's also a blast finisher. Phoenix is a cool finisher. You see a lot of spike LEs that will go in with Phoenix and Dragon's Tooth. They also come in with the blinding flash, you know, to blind your foe. But you know, you've got the ability to like develop your toughness using Rock Barrier, pretty handy, and blind again with Dust Devil. So there's different skills. You know, Scepter's quite handy, not as strong in my opinion as the dagger main hand. Focus offhand, Swirling Winds, very, very useful in PvP against rangers. We also have Magnetic Wave to damage foes and cure conditions, and Obsidian Flesh, making yourself invulnerable. Very, very useful indeed. Gale, knockback, very nice to CC somebody. as is Freezing Gust and Comet, again looking at dazing. Fire Shield, I don't think it does that fantastic. amount. I mean, it's a 40-second cooldown, really, and it's only 5 seconds. I don't think it's really worthwhile at all. Flame Wall is pretty handy to have because obviously it's a fire field to give you might. We then progress into the staff. We obviously have Lava Font, a staple of the Elementalist, to keep casting that 6-second cooldown. Really, really impressive. Flame Burst is nice. Burning Retreat, very good for evasion. Meteor Shower, this is the daddy. This is the one that will give you a hell of a lot of impact, especially in PvE. Meteor Shower is your friend. A bit of a long cooldown, 30 seconds, but because you're doing so much damage, the amount of impacts, it's indeed very handy. We then have the sort of the healing track. You've got Healing Rain and Geyser, very handy indeed to take along with you. Ice Spike's good for causing vulnerability. Frozen Ground, very good for slowing a foe down and causing chilled. It gives you that extra bit of time. But then you've also got, if you look at the other different sort of skills to CC people, you've got Static Field, you've got Gust, you've also got Unsteady Ground and Shockwave. Very good in fractals or in dungeons to control those bosses around. Lightning Surge to cause blind and reflects with Magnetic Aura. So the staff, very strong skill indeed. We'll move into the slot skills. We've got the Signet of Restoration, so every time you cast a skill, which is very handy for an Elementalist swapping achievements, and this is what a lot of Dagger builds are they're built around, because you constantly cast skills, you constantly heal yourself. Ether Renewal, really not taken that much. It's got a very good cooldown though, only 15 seconds, but very poor healing, only 736 healing, although you do remove conditions, and it does pulse every time, so that's 8 pulses of 736 health. So, underestimated, but that might make an impact. Glyph of Elemental Harmony, very poorly taken, really, not worth much. You'll see me in a lot of videos use Arcane Brilliance because it's a combo finisher. You know, it's a healing skill that's a blast finisher, which is really impressive. Hitting foes with critical damage and healing myself. So it's a very good healing skill to cause damage as well. So let's move into the utility slots. We have these arcane skills. They are part of the arcane track. They give you different abilities. I take Arcane Wave because it's a blast finisher. Occasionally I take Arcane Shield because it gives you that extra bit of defense. Glyph of Elemental Power, not really relevant. Never ever used that skill. Glyph of Storms I'll occasionally take if you're taking on a world boss and you've got the Signet of Fire. There's no point because you can't critical to Quattle or Shatterer, so take Glyph of Storms instead. It's quite a good one to give a lot of damage. Obviously, Signet of Fire, very crucial to increase that critical chance. We then have Cleansing Fire, very good to remove conditions, and obviously you burn foes, so if you are coming up against something that gives you very lot of condition damage, thinking Sorrow's Embrace Path 3, where you take on some of the dredge bosses that will inflict serious amounts of bleeds, this Cleansing Fire is pretty handy indeed. Flame Axe, one of the unique skills about the Elementalist is the fact that we get Conjures, and I'll come back to Flame Axe in a minute. We have Arcane Power, we get 5 attacks of critical damage, so if you're not spec'd for critical damage, then bringing Arcane Power will give you 5 crits, so quite handy. I have taken Glyph of the Lesser Elementals, quite handy against Mitrin, especially the tanky Earth Elemental, because they're really hard to kill. We have Signet of Water, so again, if you're coming up against those Condi spec type builds, this actually cures every 10 seconds. I take this in the dry top, you know, those dust mites that give you blind, then Signet of Water will help cure those. Signet of Air, if you don't have Swiftness, which the Elementalists tend to do, have quite a lot, then that's handy to take. If you want to blind foes as well, it's only a 25-second cooldown, so quite good. Same with Signet of Earth, only 25-second cooldown, and improves your toughness, so if you want to be a bit more tanky, taking Signet of Earth is quite a good one to take. Mistform is used quite a lot in PvP because it does make you invulnerable. It's also quite useful in certain dungeon runs if you want to try and get through as quickly as possible, because it does make you invulnerable and allows you to really zip along and zip through. Conjure Frostspray we'll come back to. Arcane Blast, we get critical damage finisher, but not really. I think it's a little bit underpowered. Again, the same with Glyph of Renewal, revive allies with different achievements. I think it's a far too long cast time compared with things like War Banner, so I never take that. Armor of Earth, extremely vital in PvP and other sort of game modes. It gives you, it's a long cooldown, but it does give you 7 and 3/4 seconds of stability and protection. So things like Stronghold, this is going to be unbelievably powerful to get those hero communes. It's a 6-second duration, you know, obviously Armor of Earth, and it breaks stuns. So it's a hugely crucial skill, Armor of Earth. We then have Lightning Flash that allows you to teleport to a different area. That's quite very similar to like a Thief's Shadow Step. So very useful indeed. We do also have Conjure Earth Shield and the Conjure Lightning Hammer, but we're going to come back to those as we are with current Conjure Fiery Greatsword. We have Glyph of Elementals. This is one that I always take around because it's quite handy to divert attacks from yourself onto your Elementalist summon. The Earth Ellie is extremely tanky, very useful as like a block or a shield because you stand behind it. Then it's very difficult for enemies to fire at you. Thinking the old Tom in the Fractals, when it spurts out poison, you put an Earth Elementalist down, you can stand behind it, you're safe. Ice Elemental also heals you, so it does extremely well, really good heals as well. So the Glyph of Elemental is quite good. We then get this Tornado, quite handy generally if you really want to knock foes around and you know you get stability. The only downside is you can't really cast skills, so your healing is sort of reduced, and so you know you are pretty vulnerable. So just be careful if you're taking on a condition damage builds. Tornado not really that viable if you're going to get a lot of conditions onto you because you will die pretty quickly. So let's talk about one of the unique mechanics of the Elementalist, and this is Conjure Weapons. What happens, you will conjure a weapon into your hand, and it will change your skills, and it will conjure another weapon for one of your party members or allies to pick up and use themselves. So this is extremely useful for, you know, if you've got an ally that doesn't deal too much damage or is pretty weak defensively, you can give them a significant boost by changing their stats, which is what the Conjure Weapons do. They also give you significant damage or sort of toughness, you know, damage resistance. They are very useful indeed as a support play. So let's have a look. As you can see, Ice Bow, you know, Frost Bow, sorry, you know, I say Conjure Frost Bow, when it drops, it actually says Ice Bow on it. But the Ice Bow is one of the most valuable resources in dungeons today. Hammer comes just close behind. You never ever see anyone dropping Shield or Flame Axe because they are underpowered. Fiery Greatsword, extremely useful for mobility because there's a skill 3 that makes you zoom along and is very useful for exploring the map. Conjure Fiery Greatsword used to be extremely effective at killing bosses. They did nerf it a little bit, and so it isn't as powerful as it was, but it's still a very useful weapon if you want to get around the map. Some Elementalists will drop it in PvP at the beginning of the match so that you can really get that mobility out there and zoom across the map. So let's have a look at Frostbow. I wanted to demonstrate it to you. So you'll see here, you'll get this AoE effect. This is where you're going to place the other one. So it's launched there. My skills have changed. We have, you'll notice as well, there's 15 Conjure Frost charges. You also have a certain amount of time that you're allowed on this weapon. So we have Frost Volley. So what we'll do, we'll go over to one of the golems over here. And we will have a look and we'll see what the amount of damage that we can do. Hopefully there's one guy that's not attacking. Here we go. So we've got all these golems up here. So we've got this skill, Deep Freeze. Very good. It's a CC skill. Really very useful at taking out bosses. By pressing skill 5, it you know, stuns them. They can't move, do any skills. Skill 4, the most OP skill in the game, in my opinion, for the element, you know, for Frostbow. The amount of bleeds that you get and the amount of damage that you do is ridiculous. You've got skill 2 to inflict vulnerability, and then skill 3 is like a huge amount of volleyed that you go out and you kill people with. So Frostbow, very effective. It's very handy indeed, and one of the best skills that an elementalist can give for the rest of their party, you know, as an extra weapon. So the Elementalist, it's light armor. It is a bit tricky for survivability. You do have low health. You do really take a lot of damage. But generally, it's one of those professions that is extremely useful indeed. This is actually my dagger build. I've got obviously on staff because I've been trying it out, and staff is actually really effective on this build. But you know, the fire damage. Well, we'll start off in the arcane. You'll see here we got, you know, when you get gain vigor when you deliver a critical hit. Reduces recharge on arcane skills. You get an arcane shield when your health drops below the threshold. It's quite handy. When you have your scepter, you reduces recharges endurance quicker. Blasting staff, I did used to take this, but then I realized that you actually want a slightly smaller staff radius, because it concentrates, particularly for meteor shower, the number of hits impacts is in a smaller area, so you like it to do more damage. Faster speed for each dagger that you wield. You also get Fury when you switch attunements. So you can see here, I get Fury when I switch into this attunement. We get attunement bonuses linger after leaving that attunement. So you'll notice I'll swap. It's actually well, the swiftness here lasts a bit longer. When attuning to an element, you and nearby allies gain a boon. So this is why you'll notice when I change to attunement, I get this protection, or I get might. So you see here, we'll get might. You can cycle through pretty quickly, get all these boons, get up very, very handy indeed. And again, I'm not going to go through all of these skills because I've done that on many of my other builds. But you know, if you want to look at the Elementalist PvP builds, I would recommend going to have a look at this. There are skills in here that, you know, particularly the fire skills that give you so much critical chance. Blast Finia Pyromancer's Puissance is very, very useful. But Persisting Flames is one that you want. Blast Finishers on Firefields grant Fury, and Firefields last longer. So 13 seconds of Fury, very, very useful indeed. So we see here, we'll get this finisher going. So unfortunately, I've got this up. So I'll change to this. So I want you to notice when we do this, I'll put Firefield down, and then we'll pop that. We'll get 4 stacks of might for 30 seconds. Damn, really damn good. It's just a way of increasing might stacks. So that's what Ellies do. Ellies can lay down a lot of firefields, and that's how you can really stack up this might, benefit your party, and increase damage significantly. So how does the Elementalist feel to play? Well, the Elementalist, I have a lot of fun playing with this. It's really, you know, if I ever do, you know, any of the Living World story, my Elementalist is the first character I do it on. It's lightweight, but it packs a heavy punch. And it's worth taking around, you know, it's worth having a go on it. It's extremely versatile and is very, very fun to play. I have more fun playing the Elementalist than I do in any others. It's also why you'll notice there's a fair few players out there that have Elementalists as their mains. You know, I would admit, you know, I had a lot more fun playing the Elementalist in Guild Wars 1. It wasn't initially, you know, if we talk about Guild Wars 1, my first character was a Ranger. My second character was an Elementalist. But I also had a warrior, and I didn't really feel that I did much on my warrior until I looked at the XP. And my XP, I had more XP on my warrior than anything else, because I did manage to get my warrior up to the Gods Walking Amongst Mere Mortals title. So that I could necessarily claim as my main for Guild Wars 1, my warrior. But definitely for Guild Wars 2, I've got many, many characters. I've played many different professions. The Elementalist is still my favourite. It's still my most fun to play, and I generally really have a good fun playing this. I would recommend it if you're going to start off a new character. If you want new to Guild Wars 2, Elementalist is a fun build to play. You might die a little bit easy, but you do have the ability to cause a lot of damage and go around the world very, very quickly indeed. So I appreciate any comments, any feedback that you have regarding the Elementalist. If there's anything I've missed out, you know, generally PvE in dungeons, the Elementalist is really useful. PvP, the Elementalist is really useful. World versus World, the Elementalist is really useful, and the Elementalist can fit in anywhere in Guild Wars 2. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.